السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله جميعا في هذا اللقاء القصير إن شاء الله في هذا الصباح. معكم محمد الجناحي، مسؤول قسم التواصل المجتمعي بمنظمة علم لأجل قطر. نستضيف معنا اليوم الأستاذة إيمان الكواري، مديرة قسم التكنولوجيا الناشئة في وزارة الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات في قطر. نستضيف أيضا معنا الأخ يحيى بوهلال، أيضا الأخ
Sir Yahya Buhlal, he has established a company, Go My Code, when he was 16 years old. This company teaches programming for youth in the Arab region, in particular North Africa or the MENA region. We'd like to welcome you all to this first session. We'd like to start first with Miss Iman Al-Kawari. Over the last 2 years, you have encountered so many challenges in terms of education sector or worldwide or regionally. These challenges undoubtedly at the same time resulted in solutions and steps. What in your opinion, what are the steps taken by the state of Qatar and GCC to overcome these educational challenges in order to facilitate and to ensure the ongoing education either in mainstream schools or private schools? I will share my experience here as Ministry of ICT. We actually launched a program for digital manufacturing for young people from 7 to 18 years, where we have organized workshops in digital manufacturing like 3D printing and Internet of Things, as well as other advanced topics there which we have trained them on. But due to the challenges resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic, we have transferred all the content of our platform into virtual one. We talk about digital manufacturing, or it is something very advanced, especially the content of this age group does not exist in a way you wish. For example, engineer, you can find the content like simulation content, whereas for this particular age group, especially children, how can we leverage this content to be used and to be reformulated in a way that's appropriate to their age? That's why mainly the things that we have used that are currently in place platforms and these platforms has been redeveloped for this particular age of a group. No doubt this is acquired a tremendous effort over a short period of time. Yes, we had to stop all other projects in April, and our team worked tirelessly and hardly, as you know, that the target audience kept asking us when you're going to start these programs, because they are enjoying this since they are creative and they themselves they lead the content they wish to hear. That's why our team over 30 days they have managed to reformulate this content in an automated way. My question is addressed to Yahya. Due to the developed infrastructure, so many countries lack resources and infrastructures. What about what's your role as entrepreneurs to improve this kind of gap, address this gap, especially these countries they lack resources and infrastructure? We have learned something important, which is the distribution among the different parts of the world which we are working on. The issue here has to do with the distribution. We have knowledge, but at the same time, we'd like to ensure that we want to share this knowledge with different parts of the world. This issue, each country, it has different context, different language, different infrastructure, and each country has different type of teachers. At the same time, they have different quality of internet. We have it switched to English. The speaker switched to English. The language issue is another challenge. also also those students who live with their parents, who live with their brothers, they lack rooms or physical space to study. That's why we have developed fiber optic in 20 spaces, and we have built localize. Can you tell the speaker to stop switching to English and Arabic? Let him just use one language, please.
Four language, عربية, فرنسية. So it's sometimes it's not just localizing in Arabic or specific language. It's localizing with the local dialect sometimes. For Nigeria,
He keeps.
In Nigeria, in Morocco, some Moroccans, they teach in Moroccan, and part of what we do is to localize things. Programs in my programs that we teach, we talk about AI, about digital marketing, about design, and these skills are very hard to operate. So part of the work we do is to build a network of teachers. So what we have done is we have taught trainers, and we trained many trainers, and we launched TOTs. And as you know, the infrastructure is very important, and it should be accessible. So it's not about internet, it's about building spaces, it's about localizing the content and having a good quality of internet for people. And we have also established platforms for students so they can be able to work outside school. So the infrastructure is very important. So I think this was to launch libraries, physical libraries in cities and also small villages, and so those people can allow students to use different tools to deal with the new technologies and to facilitate this knowledge for them. Miss Iman, how can we bridge the gap between places where there is an infrastructure which is ready and other places, even in the same country, where you have, lack of infrastructure? Are there any steps or cooperation between different countries to bridge that gap? In countries like Qatar, we have a huge cooperation with other countries, and we try to actually to listen that gap. We have a power, as you know, here, and they have issues to access the internet, and we have launched many investments in this infrastructure, and we have created IT labs. So in those places where there is a lack of infrastructure, there should be investment between the private and the public sector in order to create and establish that kind of infrastructure. So the role of the private sector is very important. So let's say companies of telecommunication should play a role to make this possible for those who lack that access. So the communication is very important for people to continue being educated. What Mr. Yahya talked about also is the issue of investment. This infrastructure needs training, needs building and programs and many other things. In your experience, Yahya, of course, you have looked for investors and so on. How can you value the investors in the field of EdTech? Do they have a fear, and what are the reasons for that kind of fear? As you know, the investment, as you know, especially in the MENA region, in terms of education, we are lacking behind. What's happening in China, what's happening in the US, and the investment that we see there is quite different in and that we see in the MENA region. Why? Because investing in education is a long-term one. Many investors, they VCs, they look for revenues and returns. So there is no big attraction in fintech or ventures like that. What we have learned, that it is important to build for education, but it's also you need revenues, and you need funds, and you need to show good numbers for the investors in order for them to invest. And the only reason we have done this is that we have showcased our KPIs, and we have shown results. And from a learning point of view, we have a lot of impact when it comes to reporting, and we present good business cases and business models and revenues and returns, etc.
Economics driven, and this is super important, is to build a strong business model behind an EdTech. So for us that was the challenge between
لو اقدر اضيف نقطة على اللي يقوله يحيى يعني
what I can add to what Yahya said is that it is an investment, a long-term one. In the state of Qatar, we had a vision to have a futuristic infrastructure. So you need to build from the start and to invest in the youth in order to have results in the future. So there should be a strategic cooperation between different entities in the state. And what we can see is what we live in today in the state of Qatar is quite different for what we will see in the future in 20, 30 years. When it comes to investing in the society, and the funds should have a good vision, and they should also think about revenues, and that might take time. I think that the region is in the first steps of this adventure, and there should be revenues, as you said, and sometimes and your idea came from the Silicon Valley, and we try and actually to duplicate other experiences that we see around the world to have resolution. What you said when it comes to education, and here I'm asking Ms. Iman, how can we actually bridge the gap when it comes to the programs that we teach? Our collaboration in Studio 567 with the Ministry in the Emerging Technologies is that what we do translate all of this information, and we make it available to teachers who are working in the digitalization. And this is an open source for all those who are interested in this field. And all what we have, technologies, IA, all of that was translated into Arabic, and we have shared more than 70 reports with them. When we started, nobody asked for the Arabic language, and our program was the first one to ask for the translation into Arabic. And this is what we have done in our studio. And I think that there will be more cooperation, and I think that others will translate just like we did. Mr. Yahya, we have noticed that there is the task is easier when people learn in their own language when it comes to EdTech, to make the content easier for them. And this helps when it comes to accelerating the access to knowledge.
So it's simple. You just need to ask the students. So what we did is on 1,000 students, we asked them, do you want localized content, and does this help you learn faster? And 40% of the students, they were like, we want localized content. نحبوا content بالتونسية. And it's the same in all the countries where we operate. So localizing the content is no question. Like, it's very evident today. We need to localize the content. But the challenge is, like, how do you localize a technical content in 15 countries? That's the challenge. So let's say you have a track, game developing track. So now how do you build localized content in Tunisi, in Moroccan, in Nigerian, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Senegal, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Jordan, in Bahrain, in, like, how do you do that? So what we did is we used a very interesting technology called knowledge graphs, and we standardized a way we localize the content. So in every country we go, we show the standards of the curriculums, and we show the skill set of the structure of the track, and we hire local teachers, and we give them the structure, we give them the technology we built, and we ask them to localize the content. And I think that's the hard thing to do, because you need to onboard the teachers on the structure, you need to review the structure they build, you need to review their content, their curriculums, but it's super important. And this helps improve the experience 40% more, and this helps students learn more. And most importantly, this will give more opportunities to people with no opportunities. Because in Tunis, for example, for people coming from interior regions, they don't have access to good education. So they lack communication and they lack language skills. So it's important to make it accessible also for people.
إذا تتجاوز حتى مرحلة تعريب المحتوى إلى اللكنة.
We're talking about dialect as well. Mr. Yahya, Ms. Kouari, we are very delighted to have you in this session. I'm Mr. Kouari, and I would like to thank you for your participation.